My dear people of Southern Cameroons, accept revolutionary greetings from me, John Ba Akuro. It's always a pleasure being together with you. I come today, which is Tuesday, January 12th, 2021, with a really heavy heart. Very heavy heart because once more, La République du Cameroun has conducted itself in a kind of reprehensible manner. The soldiers of La République du Cameroun have continued to demonstrate that they really have no respect for our humanity. My dear people of the Southern Cameroons, what happened in Mautu on Sunday? Just imagine Sunday afternoon, when the people, because our people are very God-fearing, have gone to church and come back and were trying to relax around in the various compounds and talk among themselves and mingle. They stormed and did exactly what they know how to do best. Did exactly what they did in Gabu on Valentine's Day, on February 14. They did exactly what we know they did in Kumba. They did exactly what they have done in Kupengwanenguba, what they have done already in a lot of areas in Mezam. Of course, we know what they did in Bambui, what they did in Bamendankwe, what they did in Mankon, exactly what they did in Wum, what they did in Bali, what they did in Pinyin, what they did in Guti. My dear people, this kind of acts continue to remind all of us, I mean all of us, of the fact that no one is spared in this entire movement. La République du Cameroun has demonstrated beyond reasonable doubt that they are only bent and determined to continue to unleash pain onto our people. Despite our continuous outcry and the fact that some in our midst even continue to dream that perhaps these people could come to their senses and then go to something they call federalism, a sacrilege they call federalism. Despite the fact that there are still people with those kind of thoughts lingering in their minds, La République du Cameroun, by day and by night, continues to show us that if we ever have to end up under them as a conquered people, I really don't want to think it. I don't want to say what I have in my mind, because it would send you, perhaps it will send your stomach churning. Perhaps it will send you, gaga. You wouldn't really be yourself if you hear what I want to say, what I'm thinking in my mind. Just close your eyes for a few moments. Imagine what it would look like if we were to end up in the current dispensation under La République du Cameroun as a conquered people. Ask yourself, if we are already seeing what we are seeing now, despite the fact that there is an outcry, despite the international outcry, despite the fact that there is condemnation coming in from left and right daily, even without action, then ask yourself how it will look like if we finally just submit and they know we have submitted because we had no choice. God forbid. Don't even think about it. Don't even go there. My heart bleeds. I want to extend heartfelt sympathy to the families of all of those who were involved and to all of us Southern Cameroonians, because this bereavement doesn't concern only the families of those concerned. It concerns all of us Southern Cameroonians, because we are a people who know solidarity. We are a people who like to live in community. We are a people who feel and get very attached to one another. Your problem is my problem. That's why I'm really saddened. That's why I'm worried. And that's why I'm confused. But my dear people, the only way we can really stand up for these people who are falling daily under the reckless attacks of these people from Yaoundé is to remain resilient, is to remain strong, is to continue to let the world know that we as a people will never ever give up. We have to uphold the momentum that will have quarterly and stay strong until we get to the finish line. All acts like those ones show us that Mr. Paul Biya and his cohorts believe that they are enjoying something called international impunity. And because they're enjoying something called international impunity, all that will happen is that when they do this, they'll only hear statements condemning, statements asking them to investigate their own crimes. And so they would turn around when they first of all begin by denial. Of course, we also what kind of Atonfak signed and sent out. According to him, he even claims that those images that are floating on social media are images fabricated in occult offices. So they're just from imagination, that those acts didn't take place. That's exactly what he's saying. These people say the same things. They do the same things over and over. And why do they keep doing so? Because they know that even if in the end, they come and recognize that, oh yes, we did that act when they have been pressured, they know nothing will happen to anyone. Nothing. We saw them do that with women and children in the far north. And when they were caught, they claimed that those images were from Mali. But in the end, when they were held pants down with clear-cut evidence, they carried out some quasi investigations and arrested some people and put them in 5-star hotels in the name of prisons. It's the same thing that they did with Ngabu. When they were finally caught hands up because they came out in total denial and said they were trying to ruin the image of their so-called professional army. But in the end, they conducted their own investigation and they were forced to actually claim the act because the evidence was overwhelming. But they hurriedly claimed the act because it would give them room to pick some few people that they would claim are those who were involved and give the impression they were, putting them in custody and lodge them in 5-star hotels and tell the world we are punishing them. Because they know that the world will believe them. Because they know that the world will actually think they are doing something. That is why they are continuing. That is why they are not shy. They are not afraid in continuing to do this thing that they are doing, in continuing to decimate our people. I think more and more, we should be getting aware of the fact that our destiny or the destiny of the people of the Southern Cameroons is first and foremost in our own hands. That is why we must begin by, first of all, counting on ourselves very much. That is why we should not play games with ourselves. That is why we should not play, the kind of group politics that we're playing among ourselves, trying to undo one another. That is why we have to put our heads together and get focused and function like people who know that we have only us to count on. My dear people, this leads me on to the next subject matter, which has to do with the continuous acts of the colonial administration in Bamenda and now also Indu to be sealing people's shops because they have decided to respect the Monday ghost towns. I just received this other dispatch from Du, signed by a certain senior executive officer called Adamu Shaibu Ibrahim. And he signs this piece of paper claiming that by respecting ghost towns, people are committing a crime. He now calls it a crime. And he says, not opening shops on Monday will amount to terrorism. Oh my goodness. Allow me heave a bit of laughter. This is interesting. So even their own laws, they don't know how to define even their own laws. You own your shop. Nobody opened it for you. You raised your capital by yourself. You prepared papers by yourselves. You even had to bribe them to allow you the opportunity to go operational. You have to bribe them occasionally when they come around to let you do business. Today, they want to claim that you deciding to shut down your own business on a particular day you want and staying home is tantamount to terrorism. This is exactly what happens when colonial administrators run out of ideas. I'm sure we're all aware that with the case in Bamenda, some big business people have decided not to bow to that nonsense. They have decided to challenge them before their own law courts. And they're waiting to see what the law courts will do. Will the law courts tell them that they commit any crime by shutting down their own shops on specific days to stay at home? This is the case with Foku because I have confirmation from the courts in Bamenda that Foku has filed a suit against the local colonial administration because they sealed his shops, and he wants to know exactly what crime he committed for them to put a seal on his shop. So, my dear people, we are not going to stupefy ourselves before those so-called law courts. No, I have said exactly what we have to do. These people will not come, like I said before, to the land of our birth and determine how we live. We have said we are not satisfied with their presence on their land. They have to leave. And by staying home every Monday, we are calling the attention of the international community. When they see momentum building on the side of the international community regarding our plight, regarding their exactions on our people, what they do is they try to come up with something that will look like frightening, that will look like if you don't act now, we are going to finish all of you. It is mere fright, like I said before. It is fear, just fear. They just want to create fear because there is absolutely nothing they can do. Let me say this. It's going to be a bit difficult. It's going to be a bit hard, but we have to do that in order to take back our birthrights, not to let anyone control our birthrights, not to let anyone take us for a ride. Because in their mentality, they are telling themselves, we will keep sealing those shops until they will be staying home. When they will be hungry, they will come back and beg and plead for us to open their shops, and they will sign undertakings like the undertaking that we saw the other day. That is at least what Laurent Esso said to lawyers, that if you go on strike, go and stay home. When you be hungry, you come back to work. That is the mentality, and that is exactly the mentality we're trying to depart from. Listen, my dear people, the road to success and the road to failure are almost exactly the same. This is the truth. So, carrying down to say, okay, perhaps let us just give up this particular peaceful protest on Mondays and then to see if they can allow us at least do some business while we keep protesting. Sorry, it is the same path like remaining firm, because if you remain firm, the benefit is greater. But if you cow down to failure, well, you have some temporary benefit, but the pain will return. This is why Winston Churchill says success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. We have to have the courage to continue. We have had difficulties before. We have recorded some failures before because we did certain things perhaps not really the right manner, because at some point we decided not to work in solidarity. But this is the time for us to redefine the path, my dear people, and forge on. In the later part of this video, I'm going to be talking about the apartheid, the Bulu apartheid that is unfolding in La République du Cameroun, and that at the same time is giving those misguided ones among us who are still thinking federalism can be an option very serious sleepless nights. Yes, they can't sleep anymore because of what I'm going to be talking about in a very short while. So, my dear people, we have to be strong. We shall not let them trample upon us. Because like I'm saying, they didn't seal some shops in the main market on Commercial Avenue the other Monday, but they did so yesterday. All of these are just attempts to see if we can get frightened. But my people, don't allow yourself to be used as a human shield. Don't. We have to be steadfast. Like I said, there are serious consultations going on among all the stakeholders, because the boiling point will be when we shall unleash everyone on the streets in Bamenda. And we see what prison, what cells they are going to put 200, 300,000 people into. Don't worry. We have to remake September 22, 2017. If that is what is required to bring them to order, to let them understand that we will not be crushed in that kind of a manner. I want to pray us, each and every one of us, in this year 2021, as we are doing everything to ensure that this year gives us the biggest successes ever as far as this struggle for total freedom is concerned, let us endeavor to be selfless. My dear people, Let us forget the past practices of everyone wanting to show off it is me that did it, it was me, or it is only me, or I'm shining and the other person must go down. Let us ignore that. Let us focus on the objective, which is the flag. Let us focus on the objective, which is Boya. Let us put all our attention on achieving. There will come a time for rewards, because there is time for everything, as King Solomon says. Time for everything. There will be a time for reward. There will be a time for blame. Let us, for now, focus all our attention on attaining our objective. I like this very interesting message by this gentleman who shared it on Twitter, Stephen Bartlett. Yes, he says the most convincing sign that someone is truly living their best life is their lack of desire to show the world that they are living their best life. Your best life won't seek validation. So when you are doing right, when you are doing the appropriate thing and moving this struggle forward, you don't need anybody, you don't need to be calling police case, come and stand and see after so that they clap for you. You don't need that. By your works, you will be known. By our acts, we will eventually be known. By the things that we do and the way we do them, we will score the goals and everyone will see the ball under the net. And all we know that, yes, we have done it. My dear people, this 2021, let us do everything possible to keep the momentum alive. Let us do everything to uphold the momentum. Let us do everything to let the world see and know that, one, we are an organized people. Two, we are peace-loving people. And three, we are determined, we are resilient, we will stop at nothing until we get that independence that we seek. That is the way we will win. And now let me talk about the Bulu Apartheid. It makes me laugh because when I start thinking of it, I start feeling like, let me jump into, clatter. Because when we kept telling the people of La République du Cameroun that this country is actually being seized, being confiscated by a few persons, they thought that because they, at least some other regions, were getting at least somewhere under the sun, and then those of us from the southern Cameroons were the common slaves among them, they thought nothing would ever happen to them. But today, it is happening. It is happening more and more. They are beginning to see. And then those in our midst who were shouting after the so-called Grand National Dialogue, a thing we all rejected vehemently. Because, let me say this, I worked with that government for 19 years plus. And I've worked with a lot of the people in the top administration. I operated with a lot of people at policy level. So I know the mentality of that government. And that is why when they said Grand National Dialogue, I dismissed that from day one. I told people this is what you call drama and it's going to lead to nothing. And when some people left from there, they'll say, well, at least we have come away from here with special status. I couldn't even laugh more. I was overwhelmed. I said, these people really don't get it. Today, they have their eyes to cry. Because even the so-called decentralization that some were hammering, calling it effective decentralization, the euphoria of the regional elections in areas where they were conducted in La République du Cameroun, the euphoria has died. Because the people have suddenly realized that they are nothing complete. They represent nothing complete. They're just new sinecure officers. The governor, the SDO, the DO are in charge. Oh yes, the governor can veto an entire session. I mean, a governor appointed by the President of the Republic can veto an entire session of a regional assembly's work. And nothing's going to happen anyway. They're realizing that. And so, when I was arguing and, debating with some federalists, and I asked them in broken language, I said, how the market for decentralization? They couldn't say anything. They're all dumbfounded. And then they kept saying, no, well, the decentralization is for them, the other way, us, is special status. I said, okay, let's wait for the special status. Yet, a budget had been drawn for the entire country. Perhaps the region that has special status should be the South region, not even just the South region. Should be a Jah and Lobo division in the South. And not even just a Jah and Lobo. When people say Jah and Lobo, they say it is actually Mayor Messala. Mayor Messala and the other place they call Zoitele. Listen, I almost, I mean, I laughed until I almost choked off when I saw this piece from sent to me by a journalist from La République du Cameroun, telling me northern Cameroon is boiling, that the people of the Grand North are really, really frustrated right now. So they had to take some sheets of paper and they are trying to sensitize themselves to say it is time perhaps to create their own country, the Republic of the Grand North. And that's why, there's a movement called 10 Million de Nordistes that Mr. Tanganji has been fighting so hard to ban. And listen, this guy says the scandal of the 2021 state budget of La Republique is that the South region alone is allocated for public investment 195 billion CFA. The South region alone. I'll come to the population issues. And then the entire Grand North, made up of the Adamawa, the North, and the Far North, put together, all three have 171 billion. Now, look at this. Generally, Mr. Paul Biya's electoral farm is the Far North. And they told us sometimes that the population of the Far North alone was up to 2 million people. I mean, 2 million people. Now, look at this. I worked in the Far North, and so I know exactly, the reality on the ground. The reality on the ground is that it's not true. But it was done so because that was an area where election manipulation could easily take place. And so, the entire Far North, put it at 2 million people, like they say, and then you find that the population of the entire South region, the entire South region is not up to 500,000 people. Up to 500,000 people. In fact, some conservative figures even put it at 350,000. Now, look at this. They have 195 billion, while 3 regions put together, which means here you are talking of well over 5 million people. They have to make do 171 billion. But that again is not all. You have the northern region, capital Garoua. The investment budget is 46 billion. That's the entire northern region. Now you come to that Jah and Lobo that I was talking about alone. The investment budget is 69 billion. Jah and Lobo. Jah and Lobo alone will not give you 60,000 people. It will not give you 60,000 people. Yet, 69 billion of public investment budget, whereas the entire northern region is on 46 billion. Now, I had the good luck while I was preparing this communication. I stumbled on this letter written by Mr. Ndifo Ferdinand Ndwala, and I really did enjoy it because he addressed his letter to the the enablers or the so-called parliamentarians from the southern Cameroons, and he told them to take a good look at this. He made a good recapitulation that I just enjoyed sharing, though. It's true. I asked and I had the opportunity to see the entire public investment budget for the year 2021 of La République du Cameroun. It's a scandal. But that scandal didn't start today. Because even before I was chased away into exile in 2017, much of 2016, I was shooting documentaries, economic documentaries for CRTV. I was doing economic platform. And the last documentary I shot, which has been broadcast several times, even while they were calling me names, that 52-minute documentary, I did it on energy, on the energy sector. And trust me, you see that all what they called Le Grand Projet National, that's the big structural projects, were all lodged in the center-southeast grid. Center-southeast. But most of them were south and east. And so I named the projects. All of those which had to do with dams. Lompanga Dam, which has swallowed over 2,000 billion CFA this far, is located in the east. Mvele Dam, which swallowed close to 700 billion, is located in the south. You have Mekin, which swallowed over 35 to 40 billion, is located in the center. This is not rocket science. Add all of this together, And on top of that, they were talking of the Kribi deep sea port, which is gone operational, still in the south. So whenever they said grand réalisation and all of those things, they actually meant grand bulutisation. That's exactly what it is, my dear people. So I looked at what Ferdinand Defoe sent out, and he just made a quick recapitulation. He said in 2019, the investment budget for the Northwest region, because he took just the Northwest region, as they call it there, for the Northwest region, was 49 billion and 59 million, just say 49 billion. And then that of the Ja and Lobo division alone in the south, the Ja and Lobo, that's where Mr. Paul Biya comes from, was 47 billion. That's for one division. And that division hardly has up to 60,000 people, like I said. But you are talking here about, following their figures, 1.9 million people in the Northwest. In 2020, the investment budget for the Northwest, I call it as they call it, was 48.8 billion. And that of the Ja and Lobo alone was 46.9 billion. In 2021, of course, this year, I just read that figure there a while ago, the Ja and Lobo alone is at 48.1 billion. No, it's at 68, I beg your pardon, 0.7 billion, while the entire Northwest is at 48.1 billion. And so Mr. Defoe put the money that has been allocated to each of the regions for the 3 years together, for the entire Northwest and only the Ja and Lobo, for 3 years. And for the entire Northwest is 145.9 billion, call it 146 billion. And for the South, 162 billion for 3 years. So, you Federalists, what are you talking to us about? What news do you have to, tell us? My dear people, this thing has got to stop. We, first of all, are not a people who like to rely on government. We believe in a strong private sector. That is the mind and heart of the Southern Cameroons. We are a hard-working set of people who believe that the role of government should only be regulatory. But the current system in the Republic is that government is the main and perhaps even only employer. There's practically, the private sector is quasi non-existent. This is not the kind of country we want. My dear people of the Southern Cameroons, we really would never ever be more different. This is the more reason why we need to continue to be strong, stand firm, keep the promise of resilience, uphold the current momentum, and work with it all the way until we attain that freedom, that independence that we so require. Let me tell you this. La République du Cameroun itself is boiling. It's boiling. It's boiling. It will soon get to breaking point. Let us hold firm and tight. Before long, they will not have enough of those talks to take care of their problem to the point they have some to send to our land. I assure you, it's just a matter of time. It's because they know they don't have time on their side. That is why they are doing all the mess that they are committing in our land. But we will win. Win and win properly if we continue to remain strong. I could read the French MP, Sébastien Nadeau, calling on France, calling on the president of France to know that it is time for France to support international action in the Southern Cameroons. Listen, the wheel of diplomacy grinds gradually, but it gets there. Let us hold strong. Let us hold firm. Each and every one of us in their own sphere, continue to hold strong. But by all means, don't turn your fire on a fellow comrade. Let's keep the fire where it's supposed to be, on La République du Cameroun. Don't turn your fire on your comrade. Every piece of talent that we have and you think can contribute in moving us forward, I believe in the law of motion, bring it in. This is the time for us to conjugate all efforts and all energy that we can manage to move this struggle to the next level. Yes, like I said the last time, I hear the bells of freedom ringing in the horizon. That is our destination. And I said, and I will repeat again, that is the only way we have to keep going. Forward, 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 and forward. Behind is worse than ahead. Let us keep forging on. And to God be all the glory. To God be all the glory.